So, when Dick's Sporting Goods dropped its latest earnings report, wow, it wasn't just a report card, It was more like a mission statement. They're telling this brand new story, and it really signals a massive new chapter for the company. So let's break down what's actually going on here.
Okay, so right out of the gate, the headlines were just glowing. I mean, the company posted record-setting sales for its core business, which really proves its foundation is stronger than ever. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. That incredible performance, yeah, that's now only half the story.
And this single number right here, 4.5% growth in comparable sales, that's what defines that strength. Now, for anyone who follows retail, this is a huge deal. It's like the ultimate sign of a healthy business. It proves that the stores they already have are just selling more and more stuff year after year. That's the gold standard.
All right, so before we get into the massive strategic shift that's happening, it is absolutely crucial to understand just how well the original Dick's business is doing all by itself. I mean, this isn't a company that needed some kind of lifeline. No way. This was a company operating from a position of some serious strength. Yeah, the story here is really all about momentum. Look at this. Sales aren't just up. They're up because more people are literally walking in the door and they're spending more money each time they visit. It's a double whammy. And, that strength flows right down to the bottom line with really solid earnings, which gives them the confidence to do things like reward shareholders with a bigger dividend. This is pretty much the textbook picture of a successful, mature retail operation.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. It's all about how the company is telling its story now. See, it's no longer just about the great performance we just talked about. Nope. Because of their blockbuster acquisition of Foot Locker, it is now, and I mean this literally, a tale of two very, very distinct businesses, all operating under one corporate roof.
And listen, management is making this separation crystal clear. On one side, you've got what they call the Dick's business. Everything you traditionally think of with the company. Then, on the other side, you have the Foot Locker business, that massive global sneaker empire they just brought into the family. And get this, they're reporting on these two segments completely separately.
And this right here, this shows you exactly why they're splitting that story in two. I mean, look, on the left, you see the core Dick's business, right? A healthy upward climb of 4.5%. But on the right, oof, Foot Locker's numbers are going in the complete opposite direction, shrinking by about 3.3%. This stark contrast, this is it. It defines both the central challenge and, frankly, the massive opportunity for the company.
So, okay, let's look a little closer at this strategic game changer. The Foot Locker deal is honestly one of the biggest moves we've seen in retail in a while. And the company has a really clear plan to turn its performance around and integrate it right into the mothership. And I just love this quote from the executive chairman, Ed Stack. He calls it their clean out of the garage efforts. Isn't that great? It's such a relatable way to talk about a really complex business strategy. Basically, it means they're getting rid of underperforming stores, they're optimizing all their inventory, they're just clearing out all the clutter to create a lean, focused business that's ready to grow again. And you really have to grasp the timeline here, because this is all happening incredibly fast. I mean, the deal only closed back in September, so by the time they reported these numbers, they'd only owned Foot Locker for, about 6 months? We are literally witnessing the very, very beginning of this massive turnaround effort. Now, of course, an undertaking this massive comes with a massive price tag. The acquisition itself was $2.5 billion, but look at this. They are investing up to another $750 million just on those clean-out-of-the-garage efforts we talked about. It is a huge bet, for sure, but it's one they're absolutely convinced will pay off in the long run. All right, so let's shift gears and look to the future. Let's see how this all builds into their game plan for 2026. This is where we really get to see the vision for how these two, seemingly different businesses are actually meant to work together. And here it is, the grand vision laid out by CEO Lauren Hobart. The goal isn't just to, sell basketballs in one store and basketball shoes in another. It's about owning what she calls the intersection of sport and culture. And think about it, right? Athletes are now major cultural influencers. Streetwear is basically high fashion. They see that merger happening everywhere, and they're positioning themselves to be the one retailer that can dominate that entire world.
So what does this all look like in actual numbers? Well, for 2026, they are projecting continued healthy growth for the core Dick's business. No surprise there. But look at the Foot Locker business. They are forecasting a return to positive growth, somewhere between 1% and 3%. That would be the inflection point that the chairman was talking about. That's the big turnaround.
So the question is, how are they going to hit those numbers? Well, they've got a pretty concrete two-pronged attack.
For the core business, it's pretty simple. Double down on what's already working. That means expanding their huge, experience-driven house of sports stores. But for Foot Locker, it's all about innovation. They're taking a successful 11-store pilot program and just hitting the accelerator to rapidly scale it. So you've got investment in both proven success and future potential. Smart.
And all of this brings us to the big, big question hanging over this entire transformation. You've got one company, but two very different identities. One is a powerhouse in mainstream American sports. The other is a global icon of sneaker culture. So can Dick's Sporting Goods actually successfully fuse these two worlds together and build a whole new kind of retail empire? Well, that is the billion-dollar question they'll be working to answer.